already have our guest here from our extreme left. Let me thank very especially Professor Benson Osadolo, Professor of History and International Studies, former acting Vice Chancellor of Ambrose Ali University, AAU Ekpoma. Prof, thank you for obliging me your presence this morning. Thank you. We also have with us in the studio the Edo State Youth CAN President and Youth PFN Chairman. I'd like to thank very especially Reverend Phil Aroji for creating time to be with us on the show this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Okay, Democracy Day is a major talking point. How many decades down the line, how many years down the line, what have we learned? What have we improved upon going forward in our trajectory towards peace, development, and unity and prosperity for all? What have we learned in this past years of practicing democracy? What are those clear-cut challenges that we need to deal with going forward? Prof, let me start off with you. Give us a historical backup to this.
Well, when we talk of democracy,
yes,
we're talking of the day of freedom and democracy. First, we started with October 1st, 1960, when independence was regained from the British imperialists. We were celebrating freedom and celebrating democracy. Now, that was truncated as a result of military intervention. But every year, if you remember, if you recall, in this country, we are celebrating 1st October as Freedom and Democracy Day in this country. That continued for a long time, even in spite of military intervention, up to Second Republic, which was also inaugurated on the 1st of October, 1979. And then again, that continued until the Third Republic, that was also inaugurated under President Ibrahim Babangida on the 1st of October, 1989, where you have a mixture of civilians ruling at the state level, national state assemblies with a national assembly. And that continued until June 12, 1993, that was supposed to finally inaugurate the Third Republic. And that was when the elections were annulled. The annulment of that election sparked a lot of crisis in this country because it was considered to be one of the, in fact, the freest and fairest, most transparent and peaceful election in the history of Nigeria. Shortly after that, there was an interim national government, and then followed by a palace coup that was led by General Sani Abacha. And of course, his death in 1998 created problems for the military, with Absalom coming in as the headsman and eventually handed over power to civilians on the 29th of May, 1999. Nigerians then chose that day as Democracy Day and said, look, if we have been able to struggle for freedom and democracy from the military, and that was accomplished on the 29th of May, 1999, that should be our Democracy Day. And so for a long time, for over 20 years, we are celebrating Democracy Day on the 29th of May every year. Until very recently, about 2018, 2019, when Buhari was in office, I said, no, I think what should be appropriate about Democracy Day should be June 12th. So that is why today we are here talking about Democracy Day on June 12th. Now, the essence of celebrating Democracy Day, historically, it has to do with the people. When you say Democracy Day, it's not about government. It's not about political parties. It's not about those who are campaigning or whatever. Democracy Day revolves around the people, because democracy revolves around the people. Demos, people. Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, if we understand that kind of practice of democracy, what are the principles behind it? There are principles of democracy. So today, on a Democracy Day, we should be doing an x-ray of whether or not in Nigeria we are actually working with the principles of democracy, and what is the nature of our practice of democracy. The practice of democracy in Nigeria, for example, may be clearly different from the practice of democracy in the United States. It will be different from the practice of democracy in Germany. Now, the practice of democracy in any country is determined by the political culture of that country.
Okay.
You don't have to say, oh, this is how it is done in America, and therefore we will do the same thing in Nigeria. Oh, this is how it's done in Nigeria. You're going to do the same thing in Cameroon. Certainly not.
Okay. All right, Prof, I'll come back to you in a moment.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that brilliant background. Reverend Phil Aroji, MKO in a sense symbolizes Democracy Day against the background of the historical perspective just brought forth by erudite Professor Benson Osadolo. What have you got to say in that direction?
Yeah, thank you very much. In the speech of Mr. President this morning, the first paragraph has to do with the fact that 3 decades ago, the June 12th election had. In fact, that's when it dawned on me that it has actually taken 30 years.
30 years.
Yes.
How time flies.
Yeah, 30 years. 30 years. That's a long time.
It is.
I remember where we were then. And you know, in 1993, the campaign of MKO was Renewed Hope, and then Bye-Bye to Poverty. Sorry, it was Hope 93 and Bye-Bye to Poverty. It was an election that Nigerians voted with the what they call option A4, as pioneered by the INEC chairman, then Professor Humphrey Musu, that Nigerians voted irrespective of religion, ethnicity. As it is in 2003, in 1993 we had 2 Muslims on the ballot box, because at all costs, by all means, Nigerians wanted to do away with the military government, especially of that of the IBB, who had created 2 political parties, the NRC and the SDP. And in the SDP convention in Jos, MK Abiola won the primaries and wanted just democracy. We just wanted him. And of course, the manifesto he had then was appealing to almost every Nigerian, and they were willing to go on his side. MKO was someone before then had also been in good books of many Nigerians, especially through his philanthropic gestures. He had many businesses running that employed a lot of Nigerians and was there for the people. He could be assessed. He had a family, could be reached, and all the rest. So people voted for him. But unfortunately, like Prof has said, that election never saw the light of the day and was truncated. And it has taken us 30 years to get to this point. But what has happened these 30 years? We had the junta of Abdul Salam and Sani Abacha. If you look at that 30 years, the 6 years between 93 and 99, and then the 24 years between 99 and 2003, which one have Nigerians benefited the more? We need to look at that critically. If democracy is government of the people, for the people, by the people, what we have practiced in Nigeria cannot be defined as that. So when you talk about the policies that drive democracy, we need to look at it properly here, because what has happened is that the democracy we have practiced in Nigeria in the last 24 years has been for the few, empowering the few, and enriching the few. That's the truth. That's the truth. That's what we have practiced in Nigeria.
Okay.
And for us here, back home in Edo State, we never had it this bad, especially like the way we had it in the last 8 years, in terms of physical and infrastructural development, especially coming from the federal level. Never had it this bad. So the 6 years of the military between 1993 and then the 24 years.
Yes.
If you look at it critically, sometimes people will even say the military is better. Because what we're even having now is not even an election.
Okay.
And the worst kind of corruption is electoral corruption, where the will of the people is subverted. Look at the lesson that I had 3 months back. The total number of votes at the presidential election, 15 million Nigerians voted against the APC. 8 million Nigerians voted for APC. So the minority had the day. That's not supposed to be in democracy. So that's okay at that level. Somebody had even said, instead of arresting Emefiele, why not arrest INEC officials? Because of electoral fraud. So you cannot just bamboozle us and compel us to say it's democracy, we'll announce results, somebody can go to court. No. Okay. The process that is leading to the emergence of the actors, is it satisfactory? Is it according to the rules of the game? Because option A4, everybody came out and queued on that day, June 12, 1993.
There were some tenants lost their houses, some families were broken, and all of that.
That's the price. That's the price. That's the price. I think that's what's going to happen in the House of Rep today and in the Senate chambers tomorrow.
Okay.
You are not going to do secret ballot to elect your leader. You stand
behind.
Yeah, you stand behind.
So we know where you stand.
We know where you stand.
All right. Let me go back.
It's critical to follow the process.
Talk to us about the line you were just going into a little bit earlier, where you said democracy is a universal system of government. I mean, that's how it's supposed to be. But we find that even though it's a borrowed system of government, modeled after the US presidential system of government, the practice in the US cannot be said to be the same practice in. So what would you say are the major defects, and how do you think we can right this wrong to make it better, more responsive to the needs of the people?
Our colleagues who are in political science and those who are actually researching on comparative politics, they will agree that there are elements of democracy. What makes the difference between Nigeria and the United States? Number one is the rule of law. The rule of law itself, it's very important to the success of democracy in any nation, in any society. Take Nigeria, for example. Look at the legal system. Does it protect the common man? Does it protect only those in power? What is the essence of the rule of law in Nigeria today, that even a dog, you are pursuing a dog, that will tell you stop or go to court. A dog, an animal, will tell you go to court. It tells us the extent to which we have lost faith in the judicial process. It's very sad. Number two is the issue of constitutionalism. Americans will say, yes, we the people, we have agreed that this should be our constitution. Americans said that. In Nigeria today, look at the constitution of 1999. We the people, it's a lie. That constitution is a military imposed constitution. And we have not been able to address the problem of that military imposed constitution. Number three, look at the issue of accountability. Let's take the most recent case of President Trump in the United States, and the way in which the law has taken its course concerning allegations against him. Found guilty, he may spend the next 10 years in jail. Yeah. Can you try it in Nigeria? No. You can't try it in Nigeria. What's your problem? Is it because it's from this ethnic group? Is it because it's of this religious faith? Is it because it's of this background? That would be the case in Nigeria. So we must begin to look at all of these differences. Now let's come to political parties. Look at the way political parties are organized in the United States. It makes democracy very interesting. Come to Nigeria. Political parties are organized around touts, around market women, around bike riders, around motor parks, around admirals.
Yeah, but isn't that because some of the elites are not interested? They are not coming forward to be part of this process.
Who are
they like to sit on the fence. They watch from the scene.
No, the elites, for example, we're talking about the intelligentials.
Yes.
You find them in the media, in the academia, and so on and so forth. Is it not?
Yeah.
The law says, if you are a public servant, you can't contest power except you resign. That is why most of those who were interested in contesting election, this last election, who were holding political offices at the public service level, they had to resign. They're to decide. So, how do you expect, for example, a public servant, like a professor, for example, who wants to contest an election? He has the interest. He has clear political aim. He knows what he wants to do. Resign your appointment and go into politics.
How do you fund it?
And you begin to ask yourself questions, how do you go about all of that process? So these are the things, you see, we have evolved a political culture that will not do us good in this country. And that is why money bags, those who believe they can raise funds, have hijacked the process. In fact, they have hijacked the political party system in Nigeria. Such a way that who becomes a candidate of that political party to contest an election is dependent upon the issue of a godfather sponsoring that candidate or releasing money to buy votes.
How did we deviated from this? I mean, we had the likes of Professor Ambosali, who at the time were told he came into politics. Probably didn't have, he wasn't a money bag, but he was able to present himself, sold his manifesto, the party gave him the opportunity, and he became governor of the then Bender state.
Well, for our respected Professor Ambrose Folansho Ali, he first initially was behind the scene in politics, and they discovered that he had great political aim. All of us discovered that in him, and invited him, discussed with him, and he agreed that he was going to run. And on the basis of that, you know, people were mobilized around him. The Unity Party of Nigeria, UPN of the Second Republic at that time. And of course, he won the election. And we knew his accomplishments for those number of years that it was the government. I'm not too sure in terms of education, infrastructure, there is any leader in Edo State that or Midwest that has matched what he was able to accomplish, because he had the political aim. The intelligentsia, the elite, some of them in this country, they have the ideas to move this nation, to move the society forward, but the opportunities are not there for them. You know, when you think that, oh, you are the one that has the power, the money to back your power, and then you want it, and then you do whatever you want to do, that is why we find ourselves in this kind of problem. Somebody becomes, for example, a governor. As far as he's concerned, whether his ideas are limited or not, he will just keep pushing. That's not what politics is all about.
And forcing down the throats of everyone.
Of everyone. And that is not what politics is all about. So when we talk of Democracy Day, I'm happy that today, June 12th, we discussed the Democracy Day. We are looking at the responsibilities of citizens vis-a-vis accountability of those in government.
Okay.
How accountable are those in government to the people?
All right. Prof, let me pause you there. This is very, very critical in the sense that the feeling is that even though we have spent about 30 years practicing democracy, as it were, we can't really say for sure that it has improved the quality of life of the ordinary man on the street. Is it a failure of followership or more of leadership, as it were?
Thank you very much. Everything rises and falls on leadership. It is a kind of leadership that is provided that the people follow. However, people deserve the kind of leadership that they get. Yes. Everyone who has been given an opportunity at one level or the other in this country has not been able to acquaint themselves politically. Sorry, not everyone, most persons.
Okay.
Yeah, even when people are given little opportunities, on our streets, everybody seems to be angry. People have little opportunity, they abuse it. Even the man who is supposed to control traffic on the road, he abuses it. He abuses the driver who is there. So we deserve the kind of leadership that we have, because the leaders are product of the same society. The persons who are contesting an election, or who will be a contesting election, maybe the next election, were all born maybe after 1993, most of them. Because from the age of 35, you can vie for almost any office in this country. Okay. So that's why some of us, and those persons who are much older, who saw the military and then have seen democracy now unbroken for 24 years, are even wondering whether it is worth it. Because you find a system where, like Prof said, once a man gets into position of authority, he becomes the lord of all. Even when it's limited, when it's bereft of ideas, he doesn't carry people along. You find that the principles of democracies are not followed, even to the grassroots. How many states do we have today that have a functional local government administration democratically across the country? Even the states that have those, you discover that it's the party of the governor at the center of the state that has all the states. Vote to the least person, the councillors and all the rest. You find even some states for years, they won't even venture to conduct local government election. Some states may not even have commissioners. Some states may not even have boards, in just setting up the democratic structure to ensure that things go seamlessly. Because the one person who is there wants to have it all and run as a sole administrator instead of having the democratic structure in place. So I will put 75% of the blame on infrastructural deficit, the poor quality lives of Nigerians, quality of living of Nigerians at the doorstep of the leadership. Then of course 25% on the followership. Because even those who are following, if people know that their rights have been trampled upon and they take steps legally to pursue their rights, we can get it. But when you do that, somebody is somewhere going to call you and say, but it's our party now. As I speak to you on TV now, there are some certain things I will say. Somebody will call, I thought you are one of us. One of you how? How can I be one of you when our people are suffering? When our people are suffering, when things are not being done right, when you see Nigerians suffering, the major issue now that is trending and that is that has put the hangman's rope on the throat of Nigerians is the issue of fuel subsidy. And the basic reason that government is giving for taking away fuel subsidy is because our neighboring countries, fuel is more expensive there, and people take fuel from our country, smuggle petrol from our country to those. That's a layman excuse for doing that. You ought to have put things in place to cushion the effect of this, because we cannot all die before we survive as a nation. Okay. If we all die, who are you going to govern? I'm coming, sir. I'm coming. Okay. When you have a situation where there is nothing in place to cushion the effect of this, we do not even have hope now that our refineries have been remodeled or refurbished, revamped, or the one they call turnaround maintenance. That okay, with this fuel subsidy removal, in the next 12 months, our refineries will be producing. We are no longer going to import refined petroleum products, and thereby in the next 1 year we are likely going to bring down the price, maybe from 500 to 400. You give hope to Nigerians, then they can bear the pain. It's a hopeless situation, sir. Very hopeless situation. The average Nigerians do not even, I do not see any government, any state government or federal government in this country that will increase the salary of workers to 100,000 per annum, per month. Even if you do that, how much is 100,000 if you have to, Sonny Duke, your car, maybe it's a Toyota, maybe it has a 80 liters tank, that is 40,000 naira to fill the tank.
Maybe to last for a week or therever.
Yes, that's if you just come and go. 40,000, that is 160,000 naira in a month. And how much is your take-home pay? Even the take-home pay we had before now couldn't take us home. And the average Nigerian family, because of the poor transportation system in this country, needs at least 2 vehicles. How can they fund it? So we're in a very big situation. The quality of life of Nigerians had dropped. Now it has further deepened. Okay. Because of the policies of government at all levels, not just this government that has stayed for only 13 days or 15 days. I'm talking about previous successive government, both at the state, federal, and even at the local government.
All right, Prof. Talk to us about political parties, the structure of political parties, and the impact that they've had on democracy, because that's a very critical part of the practice of democracy. And every now and then, they have the responsibility to decide who they present, from which the people choose who becomes, who they bring into the position of authority, whether as president, as governor, as local government chairman, as the case may be.
Democracy that we celebrate today has building blocks. In other words, there's what we call the building blocks of democracy. And one of them is the political party. And rightly in this country, we have also accepted that you cannot contest election into a political office without being a member of a political party and without being sponsored by a political party. In other words, without being a candidate of a political party. Now, in the history of this country, First Republic, it was like a kind of multi-party system. The parties that fought for independence. Second Republic, there were about 5 political parties. The National Party of Nigeria, Unity Party, People's Liberation Party, GNPP, and so on and so forth. In the Third Republic, there were only 2 political parties, the Social Democratic Party and the National Republican Party Convention, NRC. And in the Fourth Republic, it took off with less than, there were only 3 political parties when the Fourth Republic took off. Today, we have close to 100 political parties. Oh, they say, oh, it is their right to form political party. It is, you see, because the democracy guarantees human rights, you know, core rights and obligations, and therefore the right to form a political party is part of the democratic practice, and so we must form a political party. Now, we have further complicated the essence of party system in a democracy. From about 3 to almost 100 today, Nigerians don't even know the philosophy of these parties, the ideas of these parties, the policy document that drive the manifestos of these parties. Nigerians don't know. All Nigerians know, this is APC, this is PDP, this is Labour Party. It ends there. We are not very conversant with studying the manifestos of these parties. And that is why our politicians make a lot of mistakes. Of recently, myself and a group of researchers, we've been looking at the party system and their manifestos in Nigeria. And we have drawn the conclusion that if a political party is going to sponsor a candidate to become governor, that candidate, I mean to say, that candidate has no right of his own to formulate a new manifesto.
Different from that of
the political party.
Yeah.
What that candidate can do at best is to have a policy document that defines the essence of the party manifesto and how he can bring it to pass. But it's not always so today in our political system. So we are critically looking at that. And Nigerians should be concerned that, look, this political party has its own composition. This political party has its own membership. This political party has its aims and objectives. This political party has its own agenda. But what has been amazing in the history of this country in the past 20 years is not so much that you believe in any political party or its political aims. You believe only in yourself. That is why today you can serve as a senator of People's Democratic Party for 8 years, and on the eve of leaving office, you decamp to another political party.
What an error. I
mean, it's unfortunate.
Okay. All right.
It's unfortunate. It's okay, go ahead. I don't want to
let me proceed. Okay, because we'll be linking up with Abuja Network Studio shortly on the ITV network for TMI special package, Democracy Day edition. But let me get back to you, Erwin Phil, and talk to us quickly. Know that it's not been a perfect situation for democratic practice in Nigeria this past 30 years. But how can we improve on what we have? This is the only country that we've got. This is our nation. This is our own. We must work assiduously to improve on all of this to make the country better, particularly for the new administration of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu or President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Yeah. Today, you can't drive to Ekpoma. I remember back in the day, just a few years back, I would leave Ekpoma like 5 a.m. in the morning because I want to target, even come to program by 6:30 a.m. thereabout. You can't do that now. You can't even leave by 8 a.m. You can't even leave by, I mean, it's a crazy situation. And this situation is replicated all across the country.
Thank you very much. A few things. Number one, we have to go back to the political party. The average politician sees the political party as a mere vehicle to take him to his destination. If along the line he feels that the vehicle can't take him to his destination, he jumps out to a vehicle that will likely take him. The case he mentioned is a situation where somebody has enjoyed the benefit of a particular
but it's right. I mean, if he feels it doesn't have, there's no sense of belonging anymore. And that's part of that signs that his aspirations will not be the issues because of the way the issues are. It's also part of the way the party is structured.
It's not one person. Yes. The current chairman of APC today was governor for 8 years under PDP. One of those, Uzokalo, who is wanting to become Senate president tomorrow if elected, was governor under PDP for 8 years. So it's not one person.
Yes.
And that's bad. That's bad. Because you tell us, oh, support us, this is my party, this is what my party will do, and then we support you, and somewhere along the line, you just abandon us, jump into another political party, and you want us to come and support you again, or you come back to us. It doesn't augur well. That has made a lot of Nigerians to lose interest in the democratic process, especially the electoral process. That's why money politics have come to stay in Nigeria. Because Nigerians, the electorate, knows that, look, once this guy get there, it's for their personal interest. So let me get my own before they get there. Coming to infrastructural development. A few days ago, sometime midweek last week, I had the opportunity of interacting with someone who was in the previous government. And then we talked about this Benin Auchi Road. According to what he told me, money had actually been provided now for the contractors to return back to site. But the contractors are saying they cannot return back to site because there's inflation factor. The current price of things, I'm telling you what I had, the current price of things now cannot longer construct that.
Let them even start.
They don't want to start. I have to confront him. Why will our road be abandoned like this?
Yes.
That's why I said the last 8 years earlier that the state have never had it this bad. Because for 8 years, I stand to be corrected in this studio, for 8 years of Buhari's administration, APC, the only thing that was done in Edo State was 20 kilometers of federal road from Ramat Park to Obada Junction, Benin Auchi Road. If any other person know of any other major project executed by the federal government in Edo State, I stand to be corrected. I know there are few houses built around Ugege community on Benin Auchi Road. A few houses there that actually built. I don't know of any other thing that has been done. So actually, democracy as it stands today is government for the few, for a few persons, for those in position of authority for their own personal gain.
For a final word, Democracy Day 2023, particularly for the new government. Final word from you.
For the new government?
Yes.
Well, let us look at critical infrastructure. Number one, good roads. Number two, good healthcare system. Number three, good water supply. Today, everybody is happy having borehole projects for the purpose of getting water for the family or for the household. Is that what democracy is all about? That's not what democracy is all about. Look at our school systems. Schools today, don't even have teachers. Schools today don't even have desks and chairs or benches.
Sitting materials.
For pupils and students.
Yeah.
School today, the environment is terrible. I'm not talking of schools only at kindergarten or primary or secondary, up to university level. The issue of funding. For this government, I'm quite happy the very first day that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu gave his inaugural speech. Everybody saw that he had a clear political aim. And secondly, he has an idea of the development of this country under his reign for the next 4 years. A clear idea. But who are those around him that will bring it to pass?
Big question.
Who are those that will work with him to bring it to pass? Who are those that will sit down and evaluate what they have done, what they are doing, and what they will do to ensure that the interest of the people matters to his government?
Prof. Only time will tell. Thank you very much. Thank you. Reverend Phila Oroje, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.